down, he threw her out. It was very cruel. Her parents weren't around for her, and as a single pregnant woman back then, your choices were very limited. Out of options and without any hope, she threw herself into the lake on the Lord's estate, drowned herself and the unborn child.
And that's where the ghost stories come from.
Thanks, Anne. Bye. Not exactly. It's said that she cursed the area with her death, and that her spirit returns to taunt young women into taking their own lives. It's all nonsense, of course.
But there are more suicides here than normal.
Some areas are more prone to this than others. The sad fact is, suicide hotspots occur more often than you'd think. And having a local legend like this only adds to the problem and plays into people's neuroses. Doesn't help that Alexander keeps talking about it. He's the Lord's descendant.
He lives here in the village?
Yes. The estate's had the same family and for hundreds of years. I wouldn't recommend talking to him about this. It's not the kind of thing you want to hear when you've just lost a friend in the way that you have. It can be a little bit grumpy too.
Hello, Alexander?
Yes, what do you want?
I believe I met a colleague of yours today, Dominique. She mentioned to me that you worked at the clinic. I was hoping I could ask you some questions.
Very well. Come in.
Thank you. This is my friend Emily. She passed away recently.
Yes. I was at the clinic when your friend was there, but purely in an advisory capacity. I couldn't comment on her treatment.
Why did the clinic close?
No. Series of patient disappearances. Suicides. Over the years, it led to its closure.
I spoke to the vicar, and he told me the story of Agnes.
That man's a fool. He believes in God, but doubts the existence of evil. Ridiculous.
So you believe there's some truth in this curse?
Oh, yes. This house has been under dark clouds for hundreds of years. Ever since my ancestor foolishly impregnated that stupid maid.
Do you live here on your own?
Now, yes. My wife left years ago. I would have gone too if I hadn't have believed that I would have taken the curse with me.
You believe the curse would follow you?
Oh, yes. Just as I'm sure I drew it to the clinic. All those vulnerable people. It's an angry spirit. It preys on those who are emotionally open to it.
Have you seen her?
Of course. She haunted this house for years, burning the life out of anybody who lived under its roof. Yeah, the good Reverend hasn't told you the full story, has he? My ancestor was an arrogant man. He was also stupid. A man in his position should never have gone near one of his domestic staff. I mean, a maid, for goodness sake. I suppose her being Swedish must have added an air of exoticism. Of course, the inevitable happened. Usually these things are handled discreetly, but for some reason she thought he would acknowledge her as the father of her child. A preposterous idea back then. She had to leave, of course.
How can you do this to me? How can you do this to me? I am your child. Okej! Jag går! Men jag hatar dig för att du gör det här mot mig! Förbanna dig och ditt hus!
The other staff turned their backs on her. Nobody in the village would help. Quite alone, with no family to turn to, she was left with almost no choice. They say that a soul that dies in a state of rage leaves a curse. Well, Agnes cursed us all that day.
So people believe these deaths were because of her.
Records in this house were very carefully kept. Particularly so on an estate so heavily reliant on agriculture. The phases of the moon were noted. Agnes's death was remarked on at the time because of the blood moon that appeared in the sky on the night of her death.
A lunar eclipse.
Indeed. 2 years on, and Agnes was barely remembered, until the next blood moon appeared in the sky. That night, a maid in the house swore she'd seen Agnes on the stairs, whispering to her. The days went on, and she became more and more hysterical, claiming she heard Agnes speaking to her wherever she went. The next morning, the estate steward found the maid hanging from a tree. After that, we grew to fear the appearance of a blood moon.
Even now.
Let me show you something.
Out there used to be the outbuildings that the servants lived in.
What happened?